The Galactic Military Academy of Verith Prime had never seen anything quite like Mara Ellison. She had arrived 6 months ago, small by human standards, unremarkable by alien ones. No horns. No bioluminescent markings. No exoskeleton plating. Just pale skin, dark eyes, and a quiet that most species mistook for submission. Commander Kale Veyron had laughed when he first saw her file. Homeworld, Earth. Classification, Class 9 Deathworld. Biological status, unaugmented. Combat history, informal. Informal. He had circled that word with the tip of his talon and shown it to his lieutenants as a joke at dinner. An informal fighter from a mudball rock at the edge of a forgotten arm of the galaxy, here among the finest soldiers the Union had ever produced. Kale's own unit had been drawn from 47 species, warriors who had won wars, survived campaigns, endured trials that would liquefy the nervous systems of lesser beings. The Verith Arena was sacred ground. A testing floor 1 kilometer in diameter, lined with impact-resistant polymite walls and overhead observation decks that curved into a full dome above. Every cadet class eventually came here for the joint elimination assessment, a tradition older than the academy itself. 50 cadets. No weapons. No teams. Last one standing passed. The rest were ranked by how long they lasted. Today was that day. Commander Kale Veyron stood at the observation rail above, armor gleaming gold in the artificial light, flanked by senior faculty and 3 Union generals who had come specifically to watch his unit. This cohort was, by every metric, extraordinary. He had said so publicly. He intended to say so again. Below, 50 cadets filed into the arena. Mara Ellison was among them. She stood near the center of the forming crowd, bouncing once on the balls of her feet, a human habit, Kale noted distastefully, that she performed before any physical activity. Around her, cadets shifted and postured. Zarkin of the Gorith Clade rolled his 8 shoulders, each joint cracking like a gunshot. The twin Alani sisters, each standing nearly 3 meters tall, braided their neck tendrils into combat knots. Rivik, the Tessian berserker, was already generating heat, his body warming for the kinetic burst that had once leveled a sandstone building in a training exercise. Mara watched all of them. She did not stretch. She did not posture. She found a patch of floor near no one in particular and stood on it, hands loose at her sides, head tilting slightly as she tracked each cadet's movement, positioning, weight distribution. Commander Kale leaned toward General Saravos. "Watch the Gorith open," he said. "Zarkin will clear a third of the field in the first 30 seconds. My money is on him and the Alani twins making the final 3. General Voss raised an eyebrow. "And the human?" Kale smiled. "An interesting data point." The signal tone rang. What happened in the next 11 seconds would be studied, replayed, and debated in Academy tactical seminars for the next 30 years. Zarkin moved first, as Kale had predicted, 8 arms exploding outward in a centrifugal sweep that sent 4 cadets airborne immediately. The Alani twins split apart, herding a cluster of smaller cadets between them with the practiced efficiency of apex predators. Rivik detonated his kinetic burst, the shockwave dropping 6 cadets to the floor, stunned. And Mara Ellison walked. Not ran. Walked a fast, deliberate, diagonal, straight toward the edge of the erupting chaos. She reached Cadet Pren of the Shivari first. Pren was spinning to meet an attacker from his left. Mara stepped into the blind angle on his right, hooked her fingers under the ridge of his collarbone, the exact anatomical weak point unique to Shivari physiology, a pressure cluster that caused full-body motor shutdown when compressed, and squeezed once. Pren dropped like his spine had been removed. She was already moving. 3 seconds. The Gorith sweep had created a corridor of fallen cadets. Mara moved through it. 2 cadets from the Ulhari formation tried to flank her from opposite sides, a textbook pincer, effective against every species that processed threat from a fixed forward orientation. Mara dropped to one knee, let them overcommit past her, rose behind the first one, and used his own momentum to redirect him face-first into the second. The crack of their skulls connecting was audible from the observation deck. 5 seconds. Rivik, recovering from his own burst discharge, turned to find her. For a Tessian berserker, the post-burst window was a moment of relative vulnerability, body resetting, kinetics recharging, attention fractured. Mara was already inside his guard. She drove 2 knuckles directly into the nerve cluster beneath his left armpit, a target so obscure that it appeared in no standard alien combat manual, only in a decades-old Earth trauma medicine paper about accidental incapacitation injuries, and Rivik's left side went numb from shoulder to hip. He tried to compensate. She broke his balance at the ankle. 7 seconds. The Alani twins finally registered her. They turned, both of them, simultaneously, with the eerie synchronization of bonded siblings, and found her between them. Commander Kale Veyron leaned forward. What Mara did next was, technically, impossible. This was the consensus of 3 separate biomechanical review panels afterward. The Alani species had evolved for exactly this scenario: bilateral attack, overwhelming mass, coordinated crushing force. Their bodies were designed as closing vices. No creature below 400 kilograms had ever successfully escaped the twin press. Mara weighed 61 kilograms. She didn't escape. She went through. She threw herself forward, under the angle of the first twin's arm, used the contact point to spin herself laterally, planted one foot on the second twin's hip, used the height, and drove her elbow down onto the first twin's cervical pressure junction on the way through. The first twin crumpled. The second twin, off balance from the foot plant, stumbled into 3 cadets behind her, taking them all to the ground together. 11 seconds. The arena was not empty. Roughly 20 cadets remained standing, scattered, many of them frozen, because they had spent the last 11 seconds watching a 61-kilogram human female dismantle 12 of the finest fighters in the Union with the calm efficiency of someone completing a routine task. Mara stood in the center of the chaos she had carved. She was breathing hard now. She was human, not superhuman, but her eyes were already moving again. Cataloging. Calculating. The remaining cadets looked at each other. Then, for the first time in the recorded history of the Verith Arena assessment, something unprecedented occurred. They backed away. Not all at once. First one. Then 3 more. Then a cascade, cadets stepping back, widening the circle, creating distance between themselves and the human girl with blood on her knuckles and nothing in her eyes that resembled fear. Mara looked around the circle slowly. Then she sat down on the arena floor, cross-legged, and waited. The silence in the observation deck was absolute. Commander Kale Veyron had not moved in 40 seconds. His hands were still braced on the rail. His eyes had not left the arena floor. Around him, generals and faculty stood equally still, watching the feed screens replay the 11 seconds from 6 different angles. General Sarah Voss finally spoke. "In formal combat history," she said. It was not a question. Kale said nothing. "Commander." Voss turned to face him. "What planet did you say she was from?" "Earth," he said. His voice came out quieter than he intended. "Class 9 Deathworld. And you've had her here for 6 months?" "Yes." "Doing what?" Kale thought about the morning drills Mara never missed. The way she showed up early to every physical assessment and stayed late to watch every other cadet's technique. The way she had once asked him, politely, if she could have access to the Academy's xenobiology archives, all of them, every species file, and he had approved the request without thinking because it had seemed harmless. The way she had read every single one. "Learning," he said finally. Voss looked back at the arena, where Mara Ellison was still sitting in the center of the floor, patient and unhurried, while 50 of the Union's finest cadets maintained a respectful perimeter around her. "Yes," said General Voss. I imagine she was. The official assessment results listed Mara Ellison as the last cadet standing. The remaining field was ranked by combat contribution score. 12 cadets were listed as eliminated by a single opponent in 11 seconds. The category note read, "For the first time in Academy history, voluntary withdrawal, threat assessment." Commander Cale Veron submitted a formal memo to the Union Defense Council the following week. It was 3 pages long. It contained one recommendation. Do not make enemies of the humans. They are small, slow, and soft. They have no natural weapons and no evolutionary armor. They spent 10,000 years on a world that was trying to kill them every single day. They learned to study everything that could hurt them. They are the only species in our records that treats every other creature's physiology as a weapon waiting to be understood. We have been measuring the wrong things. Mara Ellison, for her part, was already in the Xenobiology archive by the time the memo was filed. She had moved on to a new section. She was taking notes.